For the first time since the judicial tribunal sat to hear allegations of sexual misconduct against him, Eastern Cape Judge President Selby Mbenenge is expected to testify. High Court Secretary Andiswa Mengo has accused Mbenenge of making unwanted sexual advances towards her between 2021 and 2022. And since January, several witnesses have testified, with Mbenenge present throughout the proceedings. Our Ziniko Mhlaba joins us now from Sandton, where that tribunal is sitting. Ziniko, good morning. We've spoken in the lead up to his testimony today about the impact all of this has had on the credibility and reputation of the judiciary, the power constructs that exist within these scenarios. And we've heard some pretty damning, if not salacious, testimony as well over the last few weeks. Today, he tells his side of the story. Just share with us why it's such an important moment in this tribunal.
It is a very, very important moment in this particular tribunal to have the man himself, taking the stand and also sharing his own side of the story in response to the complaint first, which was filed by the High Court Secretary in the Eastern Cape, Ms. Andiswa Mengo. So he'll be responding for the very first time, taking the stand under oath, sharing his own version of events. Secondly, this is the very first sitting judge to be charged with sexual harassment. Before, we've had magistrates dealing with such issues. However, it is for the very first time that the judiciary has to deal with the complaint against a sitting judge, and not just a sitting judge, a judge president of the entire province or region of the High Court in the Eastern Cape. So this is a very, very important moment really for the judiciary as a whole, but also for the country to see how the judiciary is going to deal with its own members, especially senior leaders. And we're talking about someone who has sat or who has chaired several disciplinary hearings, including hearings of members of parliament, such as the DA member of parliament, Mr. Brayton Bergebak, who was, she was facing serious charges, and of course, Mr. Mbenenge was presiding over that sitting. So this is someone who understands the responsibilities of being a leader in the judiciary, but also someone who's familiar with which is currently facing, which is a disciplinary hearing. So we'll be hearing for the first time how he's going to respond to these issues. But very important, you'll have to answer questions relating to testimonies which were shared by the complainant herself, Ms. Andiswa Mengo. And one of the things that was asked towards Ms. Mengo when she was testifying back in January 2025 was the issues of power dynamics and how she felt betrayed, or she felt threatened to some extent, traumatized by some of the acts which were perpetrated allegedly against her by the sitting judge. And that is going to lead us to whether today we are sitting and we are having the president himself taking the witness stand, because towards the end of the proceedings yesterday, Iman, there was a proposal that was made by evidence leader and her legal team to say, well, before we get to Mr. Mbenenge himself, can we have a gender expert to come forth and testify and give us some insights in terms of how power dynamics work in this particular context between a sitting judge and a secretary. And of course, the chairperson of this commission needed time, saying that he will tell us this morning whether there is a need for that. But we also know that Mr. Mbenenge's legal team did oppose, saying that firstly, it is too late to have that witness taking stand right now, because it is their witness who must be taking that witness stand, but also saying that they will need time to prepare to cross-examine or to pose questions or even to deal with that witness. So they were saying that today they want to focus on the judge. It is his own time. He has been listening to other witnesses who have been talking about him and making allegations, sharing witnesses. So they want him to take the stand so that he can share his own side of the story. So that is why today it is very, very important, because it will give the nation and the members of this tribunal his own side of the story. But it will also be interesting, to see how he responds to specific incidents which were mentioned by the witness, especially those incidents which were shared by the complainant herself, Ms. Mengo, but also the secretaries that were coming, the secretaries of the High Court who were coming from the Eastern Cape, called on to come and testify. So we will hear maybe in the next 30 minutes, because we're scheduled to start at 9:30, whether the judge would have dealt with that issue of the proposal of a new witness, or will get going with Mr. Mbenenge himself at 9:30.